Good morning, Josh here, Dartmoor Reach Alpaca Farm Yoga and Glamping, and I'm doing a video today about how much it costs to build a house. It's amazing how many people, especially in the trade, don't know the answer to that. You ask a builder how much it costs to build a house, average 3-bedroom house, he won't know, because not many sort of small builders build houses, believe it or not. They generally do building works, extensions, loft conversion, things like that, but you don't often get sort of the smaller companies that do that build houses. And what you will find is a lot of the times it's cheaper if you look at a meter squared cost to build a house from scratch than it is to do works on an existing house. So you might find, for instance, that putting a extension on a house, if you look at the meter squared cost, is twice or 3 times the cost of building a new house. I have built, or let me rephrase it, I have had a house built for me probably 5 years ago now. I used a builder that I know very well and who is extremely competitive on price. I used a company to supply and erect the timber frame. I was very hands-off with the project, i.e. I wasn't there labouring or doing anything myself. I was just having the property built for me. And that house cost me £160,000 to build. It was what was the size of it? It was 150 to 160 meters squared. And the way that you work that out is, if you look at the house that you want to build, you take the measurements of the footprint of the house. So the length times the width of the house will give you the footprint. So say that your footprint is 60 meters squared, but you're going over 3 stories. So you've got your ground floor, your first floor, and then say, for instance, that you're doing a loft, you're putting a loft in. So you've got 3 times 60. That's going to be 180 meters squared. That's how you work out the meter squared footage of your build. So you've worked that out. Then there are sort of 3 avenues to go down with regards to how you're going to get that house built. You could go to a main contractor and say, this is the house that I want building. Have a look at the plans and come back to me, and you are going to build the house for me. I'm hardly ever going to hear from you. I'm going to pay you as you go. Completely hands-off experience, and after say a year, for instance, you're going to hand me over the keys and I'm going to walk into that house and it's a turnkey sort of solution. It's all going to be done for me. They're going to be managing it. They're going to be managing the labour and everything else. You're going to be doing nothing. That is the most expensive way to build a house. And if you were to build a house that way, you're going to be looking anything between, I would say, £2,000 and £3,000 per metre squared. So say, for instance, that you had the what did we say, 180 meters squared house. What's 380? Oh god, a bit early for this. 360, 460, £540,000 that would cost you. I think I've got that right. £540,000 to build a 180 metre squared house. That's a huge amount of money, but it offers you the lowest headache, but you pay for that privilege. The second way of doing things is you manage the project yourself. You employ a building company or a small building company on, say, like a sort of labour only basis, but you are very involved. You are doing all the ordering of the materials, you are managing the site, you're managing the men on site. When they run out of something, you are on hand to go and get that straight away from the builders merchants. You are basically running the job yourself. You are dealing with all the headaches. You are dealing with the council. You're dealing with the building inspector. It is, it's a serious project. That is the way that I did the house that I built. That was how I went around building that house. And that came in at £1,000 per metre squared, roughly, something like that, which was, if you're building for £1,000 a metre squared, you're doing well. If you're using contractors to do the work for you, you're doing very well to build for £1,000 a metre squared. And the third option that you've got is you're doing 95% of the work or 90% of the work yourself. You are out there literally sort of pretty much day by day on your own. You might be getting professionals in to do the footings and the foundations and maybe a bit of roofing or something like that, but you're doing the lion's share of the work yourself. And I mean, you're out there working 10-12 hour days. You're doing everything. You're doing the you're putting the frame up, you are doing the block work, you are doing as much as you can do of the electrics, i.e. running all the electric wiring round. You are doing as much as you can do of the plumbing, running all the pipe work around. You are obviously ordering all the materials. You're dealing with the council. You are basically a one-man band building a house. And to do it that way is obviously the cheapest way because you're putting an awful lot into it. And to do it that way, I think you could get the metre squared price down to under £1,000, hopefully a bit more like sort of £750 a metre squared. And that is what I intend on doing on our project here. I've done some calculations here, and as you can see from the various videos that I've done so far, I have challenged myself to build this house for under £125,000. The metre squared of our house is 180, so 180 metres squared is the footprint of our house. But actually, just as I sort of am making this video, I've realised that we're kind of going halfway up onto the roof as well. So actually, we're probably going to be looking more like 240 metres squared. Let me just do a quick calculation here. 125,000 divided by 240. So that brings what I can afford to spend. That brings it down to £520 per metre squared. That is a miracle. If you can build for £520 per metre squared, that is sort of, like I say, a miracle. But that is what I've got to work with. Yeah, it's quite scary when you look at it like that. But the point that I'm making is it's very important to you need to, like, if you're going to do a project, you really need to have a handle on the finances. It's so easy to just pick a random number out of the air. Oh, I think I can probably build this house for £100,000. Oh, I think I can do this job for 50 grand. It's so easy just to joke yourself into a false sense of security, and it is a joke because you have no idea until you start doing these projects. You have no idea how much these things cost. I did a barn conversion recently and I thought, oh yeah, I should be able to get that job done for £100,000. It cost me £160,000 in the end. A huge amount more. But the reason that I made that sort of error is that I didn't do my calculations properly. I was looking. I just did it on a fag packet basically. I was going on sort of material prices from the last time that I'd done a big project, which was 5 years ago, and materials have shot up in that time. So it's really, really important to, before you embark on a big project, to know, or at least have a grasp of what it's going to cost you, because the last thing you want to do is start your project, start building your dream house, and you get 3/4 of the way through it and you run out of money. You've got no money to finish the job. That spells catastrophe. You've got to sell a half finished project, possibly at a loss. So it is really important to try and at least get a basic idea of costs for building a house. And the way that I do this is I send the project off to a quantity surveyor, and you can find these sort of small band quantity surveyors. I know a guy, just a one-man band. You send off the project to them and they price everything for you. You give them as many details as you can, how you're going to build it, what sort of finish you're going to end up with, whether it's going to be a basic finish or a sort of midway finish or a luxurious finish, gold taps and all that, boiling kettle taps and, all this malarkey. And they will their job is to come back to you and tell you what the job is going to cost you. I did this for my house build. I used a guy that I've used before. I actually used him on the last house build that I did, and he came back very, very close to what we actually managed to do the build for. His estimate was very close. The scary thing is that he priced up the job that I'm doing now, building our house, and the estimate that he came back with was eye-watering. Well, it wasn't eye-watering really, it was eye-watering when you look at the budget that I have. He basically priced it up to cost about £320,000 to do my build, which is about £200,000 more than I want to do it for. But quite quickly I've a couple of times had a look through his estimate, and because I didn't give him an awful lot of detail with regards to finish and how we were going to build it and this, that and the other, he has to make some sort of generalizations, and some of the generalizations you can very quickly see they're a lot more than I'm going to spend. So, for instance, he has put to get us out of the ground, i.e. get all the foundations, the footings done and everything, get ready to actually start building the frame. He has priced the foundations at just under £18,500. I have looked quite closely at what we spent so far, and I think we'll be a bit more like £12,000 when when we're out of the ground. So that is over a £6,000 saving. The windows and doors he quoted as being just under £23,500. We're going to spend nowhere near that. I'm thinking for the windows and doors it's going to be 10 grand less than that, easy, if not a bit more. So that's another saving. He priced scaffolding to be just under £4,000. Because of the way that we are building, we're not actually going to need scaffolding. I have a small scaffold tower which will be all that we need to do the job. He priced the treatment tank, dealing with the toilet water, basically dealing with the foul water, to be £10,000. I think that we will be making a saving there of about £5,000 because I've already bought the treatment tank and I don't think it'll cost over a couple of grand to install it. The services was a huge one. He put his estimate for getting the services to the site as being just under £50,000. That sounds like a crazy number, but actually if you're building out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of a field, and you don't have any electricity close by, you don't have any water close by, no gas, no sewage, nothing like that, then actually the £50,000 to get all your services there might not be quite as obscene amount as it first seems. You could easily spend, if you're really out in the middle of nowhere, you could easily spend 20 grand on getting electric to the place. Anyway, we are lucky enough that we have already got our water here through a borehole, so we don't need to worry about the water connection. The electricity connection I've got a very good deal on through National Grid. That's only going to be a couple of grand because I'm doing all the trenches and doing a lot of the work myself. So that £50,000, most of that is already out the window. It's going to be more like a 5 grand or something. So huge saving there. Kitchen he put down as £9,000, and actually a lot of people spend a huge amount more than £9,000 on a kitchen. We are going to spend an awful lot less than that because I'm pretty much making the kitchen myself. I've got a lot of the timber already in the barn. I've started making the kitchen doors, so I would say the kitchen cost is actually going to be for us more like a couple of grand. So huge saving there as well, £7,000 saving. Wall and floor finishes, he's put £15,500. Again, if you want to go for solid oak flooring in your kitchen, if you want to go for the best carpet throughout, if you want to go for lots of fancy wall finishes, then yeah, you might get to that £15,500. We're going to be nowhere near that. You know, it's going to be more, well, five grand, probably a 10 grand saving off that. Paths and driveways, he's estimated for £13,500. Again, because of the situation that we are, you know, we aren't going to be going for lots of fancy sort of driveways and paths around the garden and all this. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be a lot more sort of rural. It's going to be a lot more basic. So probably a 10 grand saving there. And finally, contractors preliminaries, which is basically sort of unforeseen costs as you go through the job. He's put down £13,000 there for that, and I'm pretty confident that we won't be getting anywhere near as many unforeseen costs as that. So totting all that up, that came to about £120,000 of savings, which I could instantly see that we could make, which was great. But it still shows the build going to cost 200 grand, which is still way more than we want to spend, way more than we can afford. It is 75 grand more than we want to spend. So we still have a massive task ahead of us of trying to bring this build in for the amount that we want to bring it in at. I've spoken to various architects who basically just laugh when I tell them how much I want to do the build for. They just, you've got no chance. They say you've got no chance. But I like a challenge. Will it work out? I don't know. Time will tell. There is an awful lot of question marks there. I will be doing an awful lot of the work myself. So yeah, I will very much be every day looking at the costs of things, trying to, making at least 3 phone calls to different suppliers on every material that I'm trying to buy. But yeah, it is a Herculean task trying to do this build for the amount of money that I've got, and I am well aware of that. But I just wanted to make this video really because, like I said, it's so important to get an idea of what the what your build is going to cost. And actually, if you got the estimate like I did and it is sort of eye-watering, then it's probably time to actually look at your design of your house and say, well, actually, do I need the house to be so big? Some people will just design a house and then they'll get it built, and only sort of 2 years later they'll realise actually they don't need anywhere near as much space. And it's not just the cost of building the house, it's the cost of running the house, it's the cost of heating. It's easy to get carried away, and also what a lot of people don't realise is they can easily oversize bedrooms and things like that, and to the point where it's like, oh, actually we've just created like a huge bedroom here that we don't need. All I have to do is hoover it and clean it and maintain it, and we don't need anywhere near as much space. So yes, it is very important to have a handle on costs from day one at the planning stage, really. Probably the most important thing when you come to doing your build is knowing your costs. So yeah, I think that's about all that I wanted to speak about today. Very important subject. If you've got any questions as to how I think I might be able to do the build for this amount. One other thing actually was, just while I think about it, for complete transparency, I am looking at this £125,000 build cost as just the build cost. One thing that I wanted to talk about was not hidden costs, but costs that will arise before you actually even start your build. Just move this a minute. I have actually been monitoring cash flow since we started the actual project, and I don't mean the build, I mean since we started the whole planning application. And so some of these costs that you might not, that the layman might not think about, I will tell you now what we have spent before we've even put a spade in the ground, before we even were able to start. I'll run through these costs now with you. So we had £6,500 architect fees. That sounds like a huge amount, but it's you could possibly get it for less, but I don't mean just the architect fees. That is also getting everything through building control, it's doing your building regs application, it's doing your SAPs calculation, it's doing your energy, it's working out what you need to do energy wise to make building control happy. So £6,500 for that. Planning consultant fees can vary hugely. The reason ours are so big here is because we had to put a extensive business plan together to show the council why we were able to live in a field, basically. It was putting the business plan together, it was getting an agricultural consultant in to put the business plan together, and it was basically paying our consultants to fight the council. No, not fight the council. It was a kind of a fight in the end. I kind of feel that you generally get what you pay for when you pay planning consultants, and you want to find a good one, and that generally costs money. Anyway, ours got us to where we wanted to be, and that cost us £9,500. Next one is paying the council just to put your planning in, £440. Ground investigation, look at the drainage, £2,000. Building control, paying them to oversee the project, just under £1,400. Structural engineer, and this isn't their final bill, £720. There'll be more to pay from that. The sewage treatment plant, £2,750. The ecology report, £390. The groundworks getting ready to start, £1,300, and that's just sort of getting the site ready. The electric hookup, £1,800. Excavator hire, £600. The cost of the concrete, well, in fact, no, we don't need to look at that because that's the foundational cost anyway. But anyway, just what I've just mentioned there comes to £28,000. So we have paid just under 30 grand before we've even started building, and that cost I'm not going to put into the build cost because it's not building, it's just the bureaucracy. But it's something that you need to think about when you come to do your project. Is you could be looking at 30 grand, even more. You could be looking at more, 40 grand maybe, your upfront costs before you've even started building your house. And it sounds crazy. It is crazy, really, the amount of money you pay to people just to actually, pay to professionals just to start your job. Anyway, it is what it is. That is the cost of things. And that actually, when some of those costs might be put into your estimate if you would get a quantity surveyor. So it's good to look at what is included in their estimate when it comes back. See whether all these professional fees are included or not. So that's about it, really. I hope you found this video interesting. It is, I found it interesting just going through the our estimate again. And also it's like, wow, we do have a real challenge here to build for what we want to build for. But yeah, it's so important to have a handle on your costs. It's really important to, I think, just get a quantity surveyor just to do the sums for you. Just, if nothing else, it will just allow you to look at certain things that you might not have thought about. And it's all the little things that are included as well, like the screws and the nuts and the bolts and the manhole covers and the piping for the sewage and all these little things that you don't really sort of think about, but all come to tens of thousands of pounds on the project cost, So, yeah, I hope you found the video informative. Please subscribe to our channel to follow the straw bale build and everything else we do on the farm. And we will speak to you soon. Thank you.